Let's talk about phone conversations. We won't spend much time talking about how to use the phone, but there are 3 tips I do want you to keep in mind.
Number 1, every time you have a phone meeting, frame the conversation, set an agenda, and end the conversation by recapping next steps. You frame the conversation and set an agenda so that everyone is on the same page about what you're going to cover and how long it will take, which will prevent you from getting off topic or being on phone calls that last much longer than they should. Now, doing this is actually quite easy. If you're leading a phone call or if you've initiated the call, start by thanking the person or other people for being on the call and then say, we've got 30 minutes scheduled for this meeting and the purpose of this call is to do 1, 2, and 3. If it's a one-to-one conversation, frame the conversation, but also ask, is now still an okay time for us to have a 30-minute call? This is a courtesy that allows you to gauge and confirm how much time the other person has to talk so that you can shorten up the call if you need to, but also frames the conversation by outlining the length of the call. Also end every call by recapping the following information. Who's going to do what by when? By recapping the action steps that need to be taken, you eliminate potential miscommunications. So for example, you could say, okay, just to confirm, Samantha is going to send us the list of financial records we just talked about, and Rebecca is going to research the tax issue that we identified by this coming Monday. Is there anything else I'm missing? This is a simple but very professional way to control the flow and tone of calls and be respectful of the caller's time. A second tip is to consider recapping calls by sending a follow-up email listing the action steps. Even if the action steps are recapped at the end of the call, it can be important to memorialize what was discussed. Now, with all of the matters and projects you'll be handling, you'll want to have the ability to go back and remember what you discussed weeks or even months later instead of having to rely on your memory. This is a really good practice too after conversations with opposing counsel, particularly if important information was communicated and you want to make sure they can't change their recollection of what was discussed and agreed to at a later point. Third and finally, if reviewing materials is going to be a part of the call or if you intend to rely on materials during the call, send them well in advance, especially when you're working directly with clients. Sending clients or partners the materials they need in advance of the call gives them plenty of time to review them and makes you look prepared and on top of it.
If you're supporting a partner who's going to be leading a call, consider sending them emails with key documents in advance of client calls or other important calls too. Your forethought in situations like this will help you score big points with your team.